welcome to another video. So, in today's video, I'm going to be reading some terrible West End musical reviews. I'm going to hate this. I'm absolutely going to hate this because I'm picking 5 of my favourite shows and I am reading terrible reviews to do with that show. This is just going to hurt me and make me angry. I can see it coming, especially with the 5 shows I've chosen as well. So, yeah, like I've just said, I'm going to be picking 5 of my favourite musicals, and I'm going to be reading 2 terrible reviews on TripAdvisor. So, yeah, let's get started, guys. So, my first 2 reviews come from a show called Billy Elliot the Musical. If you know me, and you've watched this channel from the start, you will know that this is my favourite show of all time. So this is going to torment me really badly. It's just going to make me angry, I know it is. So, I've picked 2 reviews from this show, and yeah, I hope they're not as terrible as I think they're going to be. So yeah, let's just do this. As good as a school play. For a start, it's not a play. Just wanted to point that out. Plays have no music. Musicals have music. Hence why it's called a musical. Just wanted to point that out. Swearing, acting, and the whole performance was very amateur for a top show in London. Yes, there is a lot of swearing, but it is based in County Durham, where the film was shot. So, if you've seen the film, there is a lot of swearing. So of course they was going to bring that over to the musical. You should have read before you booked that there was swearing in this show. Like, come on. Which commanded £85 for top seats. This play didn't show the true ending to Billy Elliot and too much of Maggie Thatcher in it. Save your money. It is not a play. Get it in your head. And of course it was going to mention Maggie Thatcher in it. Like, come on. Just come on. You obviously didn't know that Maggie Thatcher was in charge, and it's her fault the whole miners' strike happened. So, of course, Maggie Thatcher was going to be involved. And obviously the miners hated her, so of course she was going to be the subject. Like, come on. Just come on. Yeah, so, not getting off to a good start, are we, guys? So, let's just move on to the second one. Worst show ever. Bit harsh. Hugely disappointed. It was a waste of money and time. Perhaps the worst production we have ever seen in London. This is awful. Absolutely awful. It's not a waste of time or money, to be honest, because the kids in that show are extremely talented. And looking at the next line, I'm probably going to have a rant to you guys. The cast showed poor singing and dancing skills. Compared to other plays we have seen, this is terrible. Another one that's called it a play. No! Obviously you didn't read the title, Billy Elliot, the musical. If you wanted to see a play, you should have booked a play, not a musical. Don't refer plays to musicals, guys, because it's not a play. There is a difference. As I've already said, plays don't have music in. It's talking all the way through. Yes, there's 2 acts, so still the same, just without the music. Musicals also have 2 acts, but with songs in. Just saying. As for the cast, showed poor singing and dancing. Cut a bit of respect for the kids, guys. Like, them kids go through months of training to get up to doing 2-3 shows a week. Bearing in mind, there's about 4 or 5 different people playing Billy at a time, who are aged between 9 and 14 years old. So yeah, they go through about, I think it's about 9 months worth of training same with the ballet dancers, same with all the Michaels, same with all the Billies, tall boys, small boys, you tell me. They go through that strict training. Billy especially, with the amount of dancing that he has to do. And they've had the cheek to call them exactly poor and terrible. No. Like, come on. Cut them a bit of slack. Why did I do Billy Elliot first? Because now this has just made me want to go on a rampage. So, yeah. Let's move on to my second one. So, my next two reviews come from Six the Musical. Again, one of my favourite shows. So, yeah. There was only 2 terrible reviews for Six, so let's just do them. So, yeah. Let's just get started. Don't see this show if you want to see real theatre.m. .m. What's the .m got to do with anything? Don't know why I pointed that out. The show had no acting, no climax, and no story. All it was 6 ladies singing one song each, some poor filler conversation. They weren't just singing one song each. They were all involved in the show. Yes, they had one song each, but there was 3 different songs where all the queens participated. So, you got that wrong. A small argument, and then they say, "Oh, let's be friends again." Are you for real? They don't say, "Oh, let's be friends." Oh, in Patrina's reference. Didn't mean to do that. But yeah, they don't just say, "Oh, let's be friends again." That's not even a line in the show. So now you're practically making it up. So, might want to comply here. And to round it all off, it had a horrible forced feminism. How is the feminism in this show forced? If anything, it's complete female empowerment. Like, that's what Six is about. Yeah, it's about the queens of Henry VIII. But it is definitely not forced feminism. You're wrong there. When in fact, due to the Tudor time period, they had no power at all, and they were only famous because Henry was a ladies' man. Well then, someone didn't like Six, because they just completely got the plot wrong. Oh gosh. Henry was a ladies' man. Wouldn't personally put it that way. Well, yeah. I guess he did have 6 wives, but personally I just wouldn't have put it that way. And they had no power at all. Well, we know that. That's why they became a girl group. You obviously didn't pay attention when you watched the show. Yeah, let's just move on. If you are over 16, don't bother going. Can we just state that I'm 19, nearly 20 years old. I saw it in January this year at the Lowry, and I absolutely loved it, and I would want to see it again desperately. Like, if you are over 16, don't bother going. Don't listen to that, guys, because a little story time for you now. So when I went in January, there was this man in his 50s, I'd say, who was sat next to me. And it was a sing-along performance, so yeah, we was obviously allowed to sing, dance, stuff like that. He was having the time of his life sat next to me. Like, before the show, he said to me, "Oh, have you seen this show before?" I was like, "No." He was like, "Oh, this is my 20th time." That proves something. 20th time going, and he looked like he was in his 50s. So, yeah, that statement is wrong. So, like I said, a guy sat next to me having the time of his life watching that show. So, yeah, if you are over 16, do bother going, because it is brilliant. Thankfully, this only lasted 1 hour 40 minutes. Very amateur. Six the Musical isn't amateur. Let's just put that out there. It is not amateur. It is based on female empowerment, and it is brilliant. Like, the way that Toby and Lucy have done it is just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. But, yeah. If you think you're going to learn about Henry VIII's wives, forget it. You do learn about Henry VIII's wives. There was stuff in that musical that even I didn't know. Like, you probably learn more than from six that you do in your normal high school history lesson. Like, when I sat through that show, I didn't know about Catherine Howard with a guy called Thomas. I never learnt that in school. All I remember from high school is the divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived rhyme. Like, I learnt so much from six. So, you're wrong. No plot at all. Teenage girls might enjoy it. We didn't. Like I said before, it's not just made for teenage girls. I know teenage boys who actually do like a one-man mega six. Like, I've seen so many. Like, they just go full out. So, that is a very wrong statement. Neither did anyone else over 30 in the audience. I felt completely ripped off at £35 for a ticket. £35 is cheap. Let's just put that out there. Like, I've paid more than £35 for a ticket before, and yeah, that is cheap. And as for saying over 30 in the audience, you could have just gone on a day that nobody went, really. So that doesn't impact the show in any way. Like, Six has been popular since the Edinburgh Fringe. Like, it first started off as a university project, and now look where it is. London, UK tour, Broadway, Sydney, even got a cruise show. Sort it! So, yeah. Don't go off reviews, guys. But, yeah. The show is bloody brilliant. Again, everyone's entitled to their opinions, but that review is just wrong in so many ways. Like, for a start, it's a 75-minute show. 140 minutes is 100 minutes. So, you got the timing of the show wrong there. It's an hour and 15 minutes. So, yeah, that makes me sound like a bit of a snob. But, yeah, had to be said. So, yeah, let's just move on. So, my next one is Anne Juliet. So, there was only one terrible review for Anne Juliet, but I did want to include it. So, yeah, let's just read it. Awful. Save yourself the money and the time. Oh, God. I hated every minute of this musical from beginning to end. The acting/singing was weak, the characters were obvious, and had no depth at all. Of course the characters were going to be obvious. It is in the title, Anne Juliet. It is obviously based on Romeo and Juliet, not Anne Juliet. That's the name of the musical. Get it right, Zoe. So of course it was going to have Romeo, Juliet, Shakespeare, all the others. Like, just come on. The storyline was painfully woke, and it was excruciating to watch. Painfully is a bit harsh. Like, personally, when I saw the show in September, I absolutely loved it. Like, I loved it. Desperate attempt at a modern feminist show. I wouldn't say it was feminist. Like, yeah, It's based on what would happen if Juliet didn't kill herself. Again, another spoiler. So sorry. And yeah, it's her basically just carrying on with a life that Romeo is dead. Dead. Another spoiler. Sorry. I am so sorry. Except everyone ended up living happily ever after with Prince Charming in the end anyway. That was just harsh. Like, yeah, Romeo and Juliet ended up getting back together. Again, spoiler. Stop it, Zoe. But calling Romeo Prince Charming is a bit too over exaggerating. Like, yeah, Romeo does come across as Prince Charming, but I wouldn't class him as that in this way. A couple of hours of your life that you'll never get back. Well then. Yeah, that was just harsh. Absolutely harsh. It's a new musical. Cut it a bit of slack. Like, there will probably be a day that they do change it in some ways. But it's a jukebox musical. All the songs are well known. And it's brilliant. That's just my opinion. Like I've said, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Just do it less harshly. Like, the cast are most likely going to see these reviews. So just do it in a way that you're not going to be harsh. But, yeah. Let's move on. So, my next two reviews come from Beautiful the Carole King musical. Again, one of my favourite shows. I saw it before lockdown happened, so it was actually my last show before lockdown. So, yeah, there was only 2 reviews for this, so let's just dive right in. Not worthy of the West End. That's a bit harsh. Obviously it's worthy of the West End. It made it onto the West End, so it was obviously worthy. If it wasn't worthy, it wouldn't have made it on. Common sense. Never have I seen so many great songs crucified by a cast. That's harsh. That is very harsh. Why, pray tell me? What? Why, pray? That doesn't make sense. Why, pray tell me? That does not make sense. Did they feel the necessity to send up just about every number? They didn't send up every number. Like, yeah, they might have done it with a few just to like get the oomph going, but not every number. The sound engineer must have taken the evening off as the sound level and balance was appalling. That is just horrible. Like, the sound engineer does his best. Like, cut him a bit of slack. Harmonies were pretty much non-existent and vocal quality was very poor. That's harsh. I say that's harsh quite a lot in this video, so I'm highly sorry about that. But that is very harsh. I expected a tribute to one of the greatest songwriters of the 60s. What appeared on stage was an insult to Carole King and Gerry Goffin. I wouldn't say it was an insult. Like, when I saw it, it was absolutely brilliant and a brilliant way to tribute to Carole and Gerry. And so even Cynthia and Barry. Like, it was very, very well done out. And obviously Carole King approves of it. She's seen the show and even been on stage with the cast. Even performed as herself in, I think it was Broadway. But yeah, brilliant. So, disagree with that review, please sort yourself out. So, let's just move on. Disappointing. This is not a production. Well, if it's not a production, what is it then? Piece of clothing? A poster? course it's a production. Come on, guys. This is a bit of a storytelling with songs thrown in. Well, duh, it's telling the life of Carole King. Of course it's storytelling. Boring sets, average performance of song routines, absolutely no wow factor. When I saw it, it wasn't boring. The set changes were brilliant. Like, we got like this little train thing, I don't know what you call it, like a track going across the stage. And the piano kept going on and off in different directions. Like, it was brilliant. It was going back to stage right, back to stage left. It even went back that way at one point. Like, it was brilliant. So the set changes were not boring. Average performance of song routines. Also disagree with that. That is not true. When I saw it, it was brilliantly done out. So, yeah, I disagree. These reviews are making me really, really angry. So, yeah. Again, let's just move on. So, my next two come from Les Mis, and again, Les Mis is one of my favourites, so yeah, let's just dive right in. Cramped and terribly uncomfortable theatre seats ruined the experience. The seats you're sat in should never ruin your experience. Like, I'm talking from experience here. Like, I've sat in some of the worst theatre seats ever, and it's never once ruined it for me. Like, to me, it doesn't matter where you sat or anywhere, it should never ever affect it. Like, even if you're standing, it should never affect it. So, don't agree with that. The four of us were in so much agony from the incredibly uncomfortable theatre seating that we left the theatre at half time, never to return. I'm sorry, but just because you were sat in awful seats doesn't mean that you should never return. Like, just because the seats were uncomfortable doesn't mean the show weren't good. Like, if you want to write a review like that, go on to Seat Plan and complain about it there. Not on TripAdvisor. Like, no. Don't do that. Anyway, let's move on. Amplified noise. Here we go. Why is the singing amplified so much? Because they cannot sing. That is extremely harsh. If they couldn't sing, they would not have been cast, especially in a show like Les Mis that is singing all the way through. Oh god. The sound is amplified so it can like project the entire theatre. Like, if it was just to project in the stalls, can't speak. If it was just to project in the stalls, I'd understand your issue. But it has to amplify so it can fill the entire theatre. You shouldn't say that they can't sing, because if they couldn't sing, again, they wouldn't have been cast. Possibly the worst musical experience I have ever had. Certainly the most disappointing. A couple of half-decent tunes, and the rest was just shouting into microphones. Give it a miss and spend your £80 per ticket on something else. That is really harsh. I don't like that. You should never say that they can't sing for a start, and it's just shouting into microphones. No, it's not. Les Mis is one of the most emotional stories ever. I love Les Mis so much. Like, no, don't say that. But yeah, let's just move on before I turn this into a rant. So, my final two come from Dear Evan Hansen. Again, one of my favourite shows. Can't wait to see it. Was supposed to see it before lockdown happened, but yeah, that didn't happen. But yeah, anyway, There was only 2 terrible reviews for this, so let's just get started. Awful. Dear Evan Hansen. That annoys me. That really does grind my gears so much. Like, never refer with Zs, because that just makes it look like you wanted to fall asleep, and that's just disrespectful to the actors on stage that are just trying to provide entertainment. Never do that. What an awful show we left at the interval. So you didn't even give the second act a chance. Like, people leaving at an interval just really does annoy me. Like, yeah, the show might not be for you, but give the second act a chance. Like, there's people who hate the first act, but really love the second act. Like, I've been in that position before. I've hated the first act of a show, but I've enjoyed the second act. Like, I've loved the second act. I've never left. Like, I wouldn't do that because it's just so disrespectful. A morbid and perplexing story. Whoa. Let me just stop there. A morbid and perplexing story. How disrespectful does this guy want to be? He had the cheek to call it morbid. Never call that morbid, because Dear Evan Hansen is based on a boy with social anxiety. So, in other words, it's a show about mental health. It even says that in the description when you book the show. Obviously didn't read the description, did you? I'm gonna carry on before this just turns into another rant. That at best was awkward and difficult to watch. That's just terrible. Should never say that. Each seat ought to come with a pillow to hide behind. Again, disrespectful. Absolutely disrespectful. If an audience member saw you like this with a pillow, they're gonna think, wow, you are just disrespectful. Like, if I was up on that stage and I saw someone hiding behind a pillow, I'd be like, just leave. Like, just leave, because it's just disrespectful for you to say that you wanted a pillow. No. A toddler could endure a more enchanting and captivating story. That is just, no. No. Just no. Like, it's a show about mental health that a lot of people can refer to. Like, I know people who struggle with mental health, and I tell them to listen to Dear Evan Hansen because it helps them. And they've come back to me and said, oh, thanks Zoe, that's really helped. Like, no, just never say that, guys. Ignore the hype and spend your money on a more uplifting show like Come From Away and Juliet and Waitress. Just because a show is not uplifting doesn't mean it's not good. Like, a show could be all sad songs and it could still be a really good show. Like, Dear Evan Hansen is really, really good. I watched a bootleg. Let's not talk about that because that was naughty of me. But, yeah. Anyway, you should have never, ever, ever, like, especially use the words morbid and perplexing to describe a show as emotional and deep felt as Dear Evan Hansen. You shouldn't. Just no. So, yeah. I'm not even going to say anything else on that matter because them 2 reviews have just absolutely disgusted me. They really have, like, for a start, they've slated the understudy when he was just trying to do a show, and they were being, like, basically disrespectful towards mental health. Like, yeah, for all they know, the actors could struggle with mental health themselves and the show's helping them. Like, just never do that. Just don't. But, yeah, it's their opinion at the end of the day. So, there we go, guys. Me reading terrible musical reviews. I think it's safe to say that I turned that more into a rant. So, yeah. Won't be doing this again. But, yeah. There was just some in there that just made me feel disgusted. There was some in there that just boiled my blood. And some that just overall made me really, really annoyed. Especially the two at the end there with Dear Evan Hansen. Because Dear Evan Hansen talks about mental health. And it's just such a strong subject, and there's people out there that do actually suffer with mental health. And if you do watch my videos and you do suffer with mental health, please reach out to someone, or even message me over on my Instagram. I will link it up here if you don't follow me already. But yeah, that's the end of the video. If you like this video, please like, comment and subscribe. And yeah, I will see you all in my next video.